The village of Omugwe whispered of omens carried by the river, of blessings that turned bitter, of promises forged with spirits older than time. Beneath the towering baobab tree that marked the village's heart, the elders spoke of a prophecy. 2 lives bound by fate, their bond a blessing or a curse, depending on the choices they made. Yet few could have foreseen how deeply this prophecy would shape Omugwe, how the laughter of 2 brothers would one day give way to silence, and how envy, like a serpent, would coil itself around the roots of their love. It began on a quiet evening, as the sun painted the river golden, and the air hummed with the whispers of the spirits. Kem knelt at the riverbank, her hands trembling in prayer, unaware that the shadow watching her would change the destiny of her family and her village forever. The village of Omugwe thrived under the embrace of the mighty river that flowed through its heart. Its waters were life-giving, nourishing the fertile soil that produced lush fields of maize, cassava, and yam. The villagers revered the river as a divine blessing, believing it carried the spirit's favor. At the center of the village stood an ancient baobab tree, its roots entwined with Omugwe's history, and its branches a symbol of enduring strength. Omugwe's people lived by the rhythms of the land and the wisdom of their ancestors. They celebrated the planting of seeds, the return of the rains, and the bountiful harvests. Among them were Ekene and Ninkem, a couple deeply respected for their kindness and unwavering bond. Ekene, a skilled farmer, was known for his generous heart, while Ninkem, a healer, was sought after for her knowledge of herbs and remedies. Yet for all their blessings, one absence cast a shadow over their lives. They were childless. For 20 years their home echoed with silence where the laughter of children should have been. They bore this sorrow with quiet resilience, turning to prayer, tradition, and the hope that the spirits would one day hear their cries. As each season passed without a child, the weight of their longing grew heavier. Nkem often found herself drawn to the river, its constant flow a reminder of life's continuity. She would kneel at its edge, offering whispered prayers to the spirits, asking for a child to fill the void in her heart. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the sky turned a brilliant amber, Nkem stood by the river. The golden light shimmered on the water's surface, creating ripples that seemed to dance to an unseen rhythm. She knelt on the soft earth, her hands clasped, her voice trembling with emotion. "Spirits of the river, ancestors who watch over us, hear my plea," she murmured. "Bless our home with the laughter of a child. I ask for nothing more." The air around her grew still, the usual hum of the evening insects fading into silence. A soft rustling came from the trees nearby, and Nkem turned, her breath catching in her throat. A figure stood at the edge of the riverbank, draped in a tattered robe that seemed to blend with the shadows. His face was obscured, but his presence carried an otherworldly weight. "Do not despair, daughter of Omugwe," the figure said, his voice deep and resonant, like the river itself speaking. "The spirits have heard your cries. You will bear twin sons, and they will be a blessing to your family in this village." Nkem's eyes widened, her heart pounding with equal parts fear and hope. She opened her mouth to speak, but the figure raised a hand, silencing her. "Remember this," he continued, his tone grave. "These children are born under a sacred oath. Their locks shall remain uncut, a symbol of the promise made to the spirits. Should this vow be broken, calamity will follow." As suddenly as he appeared, the figure vanished. A flash of lightning lit the sky, though no storm followed. Nkem fell to her knees, trembling, her mind racing with the weight of his words. When she returned home, she found Akine by the hearth, his face lit by the soft glow of the fire. She recounted the encounter, her voice quivering as she described the figure's prophecy. Akine listened intently, his skepticism giving way to concern as he saw the conviction in his wife's tear-filled eyes. That night, Keen said softly, "Let us pray together." And so they knelt by the hearth, their hands clasped tightly, and whispered prayers into the night. The promise-fulfilled months passed, and the village entered the season of the rains. The river swelled, its waters carrying life to the fields, and the earth thrived under its touch. Ninkem began to feel the stirrings of new life within her, a sensation that brought tears of joy to her eyes. She shared the news with Akine, who embraced her tightly, his voice thick with emotion. "Our prayers have been answered," he murmured. "The spirits have blessed us." Word of Nkem's pregnancy spread through the village like wildfire, bringing a renewed sense of hope and celebration. The women of Omugwe gathered at her home, singing songs of blessing and offering herbal teas to ease her journey. The men congratulated Akini, their hands firm on his shoulders, their smiles wide. As her belly grew, Nkem found herself drawn more often to the river. She would sit on its banks, her hands resting on her stomach, and whisper words of gratitude to the spirits. The villagers, seeing her there, believed her child to be a divine gift. When the time came, it was at dawn, as the first rays of sunlight painted the sky in hues of gold and pink. The midwives worked tirelessly, their chants blending with Nkem's cries. As the sun broke over the horizon, twin cries filled the air, strong and insistent. The midwives laughed and wept, lifting the newborns into the light. "They are beautiful," one midwife said, her voice choked with emotion. "Truly, the spirits have blessed this family." Nkem held her sons close, tears streaming down her face. Their hair, thick and curly, was unlike any she had seen on a newborn. She remembered the figure's words and felt the weight of the promise anew. Ekine, standing nearby, looked upon his sons with awe. "Chidi," he said, pointing to the elder, whose curious eyes already searched the room. "And Deek," he added, gesturing to the younger, who rested quietly in his mother's arms. The naming ceremony was the grandest the village had ever seen. The twins were dressed in white robes, symbolizing purity, and the elder blessed them with sacred water from the river. Ekene and Nkem swore an oath before the entire village to honor the spirit's command, never allowing a blade to touch their son's hair. The village rejoiced, their voices rising in song and praise. The twins became a symbol of hope and renewal, their presence a reminder of the spirit's favor. The bond of brothers. As the twins grew, their personalities began to emerge, distinct yet complementary. Chidi, bold and curious, led their adventures through the village and its surrounding forests. His laughter was infectious, his charm undeniable. Dyke, quieter and more reflective, often followed his brother's lead, his watchful eyes absorbing the world around him. The villagers adored them, often marveling at their bond. Together, the brothers climbed trees, fished by the river, and helped in the fields. Their mother watched them with a mixture of pride and trepidation, knowing the weight of the prophecy that hung over their heads. "Chidi will be a leader," Ikine often said, his voice filled with pride. And Deek, a wise counselor by his side. Nkem, however, noticed the subtle differences in her son's interactions. Chidi's boldness often earned him praise, while Dyke's quieter nature went unnoticed. She saw the flicker of disappointment in Dyke's eyes during village gatherings, though he said nothing. A mother's intuition told her that the harmony between them might one day be tested. A fateful celebration. The test began during the Harvest Festival, a time of joy and thanksgiving in Omugwe. The air was alive with the scent of roasted maize and palm wine, and the villagers gathered near the river to celebrate. Chidi and Dyke played by the riverbank, their laughter ringing above the music and chatter. It was Chidi's quick reflexes that saved the day when a stray goat threatened the king's sacred yam garden. With a burst of speed, he captured the animal, earning cheers and admiration from the crowd. The villagers chanted his name, lifting him onto their shoulders. Dyke clapped along, but his smile faltered. He slipped away from the celebration, seeking the quiet solace of the forest's edge. There, beneath the towering trees, he wrestled with emotions he could barely name, envy, longing, and the sting of being overshadowed. As he sat in the darkness, the wind carried a faint whisper. "You are more than the shadow you cast, Dyke. Your path is yours to choose." He turned, his heart pounding, but found only the rustling leaves. The words lingered, both a comfort and a challenge, as he made his way back to the village where the celebrations continued without him. Foreshadowing the divide, Nkem watched her sons closely in the days that followed. The bond that had once been unbreakable seemed to strain under the weight of unspoken feelings. Chidi, unaware of his brother's inner turmoil, continued to shine, while Dyke grew quieter, his smiles less frequent. Ekina dismissed her concerns. "They are boys, Nkem. They will grow out of it." But Nkem knew better. The river flowed steadily, but its surface could not reveal the currents beneath. She prayed that the prophecy's shadow would not deepen the rift she sensed growing between her sons. For now, the twins' bond remained intact, their laughter still filling the air. Yet, like the gentle ripple that begins in the river's depths, the seeds of conflict had been sown, waiting for the currents of time to bring them to the surface. As the seeds of destiny are planted in Omugwe, the brothers' journey is just beginning. Will their bond endure, or will envy and fate conspire to test them? Stay tuned for part 2 to uncover how their paths diverge. If you enjoyed this part, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. Hit the notification bell so you won't miss the next chapter of this epic tale. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think lies ahead for Chidi and Deke? Your support keeps these stories alive.